everybody's doing well. It is December 29th, 10:35 Eastern. I've been spending some time in one of my favorite cities. It's where I spend a lot of time where when I need to regroup and or need to just get in tune and in touch with the things that I love about myself, the things that I love about this world, the things that I love about this earth. And it sounds corny, but there's something about Tallahassee, Florida that just does it for me. And so I've been spending some time here. I have a small little bungalow in this city, and it's been great because not only did I go to school here at Florida State, my undergraduate work, I did it here, but it's also a city where my mom used to come and visit me. So there is some nostalgia attached to this city. And so it's important for me to get back to this city whenever I want to just get in tune, retune the things that make me me. It also gives me an opportunity to spend some time alone outside of Miami, outside of family, just to plan for what 2021 is. And I promised myself that I will not use the word unprecedented. That's obviously a word that's really famous, and it's been, I guess, overused in 2020 to describe the environment. But for me, even looking at the year, even despite when I was going through the roughest moments in 2020, and I'll give you guys a glimpse of my year in a little bit, but in 2020, even in the darkest of moments, I really never felt that the doom was imminent. I never really let the environment dictate my happiness. And don't get me wrong, it hasn't all been rainbows and puppies, but I think that when you look at a life of recovery and a life that I'm really proud of, and the framework by which I've built my life, and it's anchored to the principles that I teach and I coach, and the principles that have helped build the Altered State brand. It really allowed me to, I guess, move through the year, not coast, but literally attack 2020, despite, a lot of issues that many people would have considered catastrophic. And that's not because I'm special, or not because I don't feel. Quite the contrary, I feel everything today, and it's because of who I am and the way I prioritize, the way I think, and how I structure my day to ensure that as much as I can, I build a framework for controlling the narrative the minute that I hit my feet hit the ground. And it all starts with approaching my day with a mindset that is anchored 100% to grit, right? Because when you accept that life will come at you really fast, and when you accept that you have an opportunity to bob and weave and really push through pain and really embrace the great moments of your life, that's literally how your life is transcended. And it's literally how you elevate your vibration and you elevate your frequency to ultimately bring in more abundance. It's not me that created this. It's known from the brightest minds in medicine to the brightest minds in holistic medicine. And when you bridge both of those, you ultimately get this life. And some may say, well, what's holistic medicine? Well, that's obviously the meditations and the guided meditations and the Reiki and all of the great things that sector of mental health give us. And for me, this year has been actually quite good. I was, unfortunately, I was divorced this year, and no ill will to my ex-wife. I think she's a fantastic woman. I think she's a fantastic mother. She has a lot of fantastic qualities, but I think that the stage that we were in, really wasn't conducive to us having a healthy relationship and a healthy marriage. We had a healthy relationship, just not a healthy marriage. And so today, I have nothing but love for her. She's as I said, somebody that I still look up to on many different facets of life. And for me, it's important to communicate that because it's been part of my healing and really looking at, unfortunate circumstances that happen in your life with a lens around gratitude. I'm fortunate to have had that relationship for however long it lasted, but I'm also fortunate of what, if I'm fortunate enough to have taken the learnings and applying them into the way I approach my life today. And it's literally about taking those milestones in life and experiences in life to ultimately build a better life. And it's literally like you get those experiences to ultimately craft or shape or create a new tool in your life. Then you had COVID. And COVID, in full transparency, I thought COVID was going to last literally 2 weeks. And here we are, 9 months later, and we're still in a COVID environment. And the reality is that I don't see this going anywhere for the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 months at least. And so my life now includes the acceptance of using a mask anytime I leave my house. And was that the way that I was thinking through things when COVID first appeared in the US in March? No, I thought it was ridiculous. Now I understand that it's unnecessary. And so that's literally how I live, and it's because of the framework that I built in not only getting into a life of recovery, also maximizing what recovery gives me, and then third is building a platform to allow people to recover. And so when you look at recovery, and I'm not trying to go off on a tangent here, but recovery is literally a huge term. Excuse me about that. Sorry about that. But recovery is a huge category because when you look at recovery, it is my recovery just so happens to be from drugs and alcohol, but many of our customers are recovering from either failed marriages, self-limiting beliefs, the ability to sabotage any wins that they have in business and or personal life, anxiety, depression, and then of course drugs, alcohol. So we're all recovering from something, and I think it's important to align with people that embrace a life of recovery. And I think that the principles of recovery, which are tied to the principles of healing, are universal, regardless of whatever that hurt, hang up, addiction, and or behavioral health issue that you're dealing with. And that's literally what we've built. Because when you look at the Altered State platform and the reason why it's successful, one of the many reasons is because we understand that recovery is a painstaking process. And so here is, let's say, this is you, and then this is, let's say, whatever that hurt, hang up, or whatever that self-limiting thought and or behavior is. And so what happens is the minute you break free from that, and which is a fantastic thing, but I think very often we're caught in a situation where we still hang too close to that behavior, right? So let's say this is the behavior, this is you. At one point we were like this. Now we're like this. We're still too close. And so what Altered State does is it literally builds a program for you to further distance yourself from that hurt, hang up, addiction, whatever it is, that behavioral health component that is not allowing you to be that best version of yourself. And so for us, um, it's been such a blessing, and and you see it daily when you have people who have been living in an environment and or been afflicted with, let's say, an addiction that's been hampering them the last 6 years, or you just had a client who had been 15 years battling with alcohol addiction, and it's today's actually marks 30 days since his last drink, and he says that he remembers the last time he felt like this. It was 20 years ago. And so just think of how profound that statement is. How somebody can go that long knowing and feeling that they're not in a position to be the best version of themselves. And the fact that we have an opportunity as a platform, as human beings, to really position the content and the coaching to get that person back to where they initially thought they could get to. And that's literally living a life of abundance. And that's what we do. The coaching is very direct. And this isn't a cookie cutter approach. It's tailored to the individual. And so you fast forward, going back to my year, on June 18th, I was, I faced a decision where I had to, leave an employer so that I can pursue this full time. And the anxiety that comes from that is sometimes could be crippling, debilitating, because the minute that you have a thought and or a decision that can ultimately impact you helping others, then you're losing sight of what you're meant to do. Then you're losing sight of what God's calling is. And so, when you look at the fear of economic insecurity and everything that brings, but knowing that when you're anchored to excellence in everything you do, and you're anchored to recovery, and you're anchored to doing the right thing and keeping your side of the street clean, then all good things happen. And the platform it's unbelievable. It's hard to describe. It's almost, I sometimes feel bad by sharing it, but the platform is taking off for so many reasons. But more than anything, it's because it works. This isn't like, I think it'll work. This works. And it works across so many different behaviors, so many different life challenges, and things that are holding people back. And for me, for the longest time, I carried around a bag of rocks for about 20 years until I realized that my life was getting heavy. And for those that don't know me, I'm vertically challenged, and I've still I'm athletic, and I love fitness. It's a huge part of my life. And when I say heavy, it wasn't heavy around the midsection; it was heavy around up here. And I'm pointing, for those of you that are listening, pointing to my head, what's in between my ears. And it's what was in between my ears, which is my brain. Sometimes I used to categorize it, qualify it, and describe it as a carnival. And those of us that have been to a carnival, there's so many different stimuli in a carnival that you don't know where you're going. Oftentimes your attention is drawn into so many different places. And that's literally how my life was. Today, it's no longer like that. So you fast forward to today, December 29th, and we've had an opportunity to coach hundreds of men and women who are really embracing a life of recovery. And the program is anchored to 4 different principles. One is the ability to change your mindset. And that sometimes can be perceived as a fluffy term, but there is specificity in how we do it. There's specificity in how we coach it and teach it, because all of the course content was built by me when I was, fortunately, and notice the adjective here, fortunately, institutionalized for 7 months. That gave me a lot of time to literally get out of self and literally put pen to paper on really understanding what it's going to take for me to help myself, shed the bag of rocks, shed the addiction, shed the label attached to my addiction, and then ultimately enhance my life to a level that I never thought imaginable, never thought possible. The second category, the pillar, is grit. And we all think that we're gritty by nature. And yeah, but how often are you flexing and or double clicking on grit? And the reality is it's so underutilized. You have to wake up with a mentality like if your right hand was on a mouse and the only button was grit, are you in a position to double click on that whenever you face something that's challenging? because grit is literally the voice that tells you not to quit when you want to. It's almost like your alter ego, but a good one. The third one is the ability to like overcome obstacles and overcome objections, really reframe your life and reframe things that come to you. And I often say this to many people. The ability to reframe is a superpower. And it's not something that comes easily, but it is something that needs to be taught. And it is something that requires work. But if I could literally emphasize any of the key operatives and or key terms or learnings from the program, is the ability to reframe almost everything that happens in your life. Because even the good things, you can amplify them by reframing them and by reframing them to enhance the positive. Then, of course, the same thing can be applied to when negative things happen in your life. Life comes really quickly. Sometimes it comes really fast, sometimes not so fast. And when you have, a crap sandwich come your way, that's the only thing you have to eat. Are you going to eat it? And my answer is, heck yeah, I'm going to eat it, because I'm going to reframe it to make it seem like my favorite sandwich, which is a turkey and Swiss sandwich. And that is a huge superpower. And so when you have people thinking that their life sucks and their life is, not worth living, like, how do you teach the individual to reframe their life? And it boils down to really getting to the root of the problem, whether it's addiction and or self-limiting thoughts or lack of motivation or lack of accountability, and really making sure that you squash the root of that problem. And then ultimately building up a framework for that so that person can lean in and double click on all the fantastic things their life has to offer. And again, it's almost like if you're, if you've been, you've gotten into a pitfall and you're in, I guess, in a hole of darkness, and you know that the pathway to get out is almost impossible when you're alone, why would you not hire somebody who's navigated the way out before, not only for themselves, but for countless others? And so this whole premise where people say, I can do this alone. Well, if you could do it alone, you would have already done it. That's the reason why people in recovery will always share that the only reason why they're there is because they followed up and they literally acted on one of the most courageous thoughts in their life. And that's the ability to ask for help. Okay. And it's not for everybody, but I often say that asking for help is the most courageous act that you can have. So you do need a coach. And then the fourth one is something that I live by, and that's this whole premise around movement, getting outside and moving and making sure that you're active, because as a species, we are not meant to be sedentary. We are meant to move. And so how do we build a program and a platform that allows people to embrace movement into their life? Because we know from scientific study and clinical based evidence that movement obviously has a physiological effect on your body. Anatomy and physiology gets impacted in a positive way when you move, when you exercise. And so how do we build that into the way that you build a framework for your life? And that's literally the reason why we do that. There is no coaching platform out there today that incorporates and really allows you to build these 4 different categories over 90 days or 180 days or 365 days. So wanted to let you all know that we feel really positive with what's coming in 2021. More importantly, we want to just let you all know that you have hope. You have an opportunity. When you need recovery, when you need opportunity, just know that altered state is there. We've proven time and time again that despite life's challenges, which are going to be reframed into life's opportunities, you become the best version of yourself. This isn't like maybe something that I'm pulling from the air and just throwing it your way. It's proven. The success that we're seeing with this program is, I'm not surprised, because it's literally the program and the platform that I use to live my life. And I was somebody who was hopeless. But that hopelessness is today filled with gratitude, filled with hope, filled with motivation, filled with abundance, filled with opportunity, filled with positivity. So I want that for you. And so if you are interested, you can follow us on a host of different social media platforms. We are on Facebook as Altered State Coaching. We are on Instagram with the handle is Altered Sobriety. We have a newly enhanced webpage, which is alteredSTATE.org or www.yourrecoverycoach.com. So just feel free to call us, DM us, email us. My email is tony@alteredstate.org. We're here for you. We can't wait for you to embrace fantastic, abundant 2021. Have a great year, y'all.